Do you need police, fire, or medical help?
Police, medical. I'm pretty sure my girlfriend's dead. I got up for work, came out, looked outside, I seen a car out here. I came out here and she's laying in her front seat, unresponsive, very cold, covered in blood. Oh my God.
You doing okay, sir?
No.
I understand. We're going to get you some help here as quick as possible.
That was Morgan Fox's boyfriend, Jason Scarnecchia, after he found Morgan's lifeless body in her car in their driveway. Morgan fell victim to a fatal shooting in what seemed to be a deliberate and targeted attack. But who could have committed such an evil crime? Could it have been her boyfriend? Or maybe it was a coworker, Jason McDermitt, who was rumored to be infatuated with her? Let's delve into this chilling case. Morgan Ashley Fox was born on the 22nd of August 1991 in Marion County, Ohio, to parents Cynthia Rowe and Robert Fox. She came from a large family and had 12 siblings. Morgan was a happy child who was extremely kind and generous. She loved animals, and her love for animals only increased as she grew older. In 2012, when Morgan was 20 years old, she gave birth to her first and only child, her daughter Amelia, who became the center of her world. In 2016, Morgan started working as a bartender, and after that she worked at BJ's Restaurant and Brewhouse as a server. She then landed a job at FedEx Ground, where she eventually became operations manager in 2019. Morgan worked an early morning shift at FedEx, which started between 2:30 and 3 a.m. One of her co-workers, Jason McDermitt, worked the same schedule. While working afternoon shifts together, they became friends. He often brought food and drinks to Morgan at work. However, his actions took a disturbing turn as he secretly took photos and videos of her without her consent. McDermitt talked about Morgan constantly to others and gave the impression they were extremely close. In August 2020, McDermitt began training a new colleague named Mary. Mary soon noticed that McDermitt seemed fixated on Morgan. He constantly talked about Morgan and even showed Mary pictures of her and her daughter. Mary saw this behavior as obsessive and advised McDermitt to stop and to find something better to do with his time. She also made it clear that she didn't want to receive any more texts from him about Morgan. McDermitt also spoke about Morgan to other coworkers. He talked to an employee named Mickey about Morgan's daughter, her health, and how he attended a birthday party at Morgan's home. Mark was another FedEx employee who McDermitt talked to about Morgan. McDermitt claimed that Morgan was a close friend and expressed a desire to spend more time with her. During a challenging period in Morgan's relationship with her boyfriend, Jason Scarnecchia, McDermitt confided in Mark, suggesting that he and Morgan might consider getting a place and living together. McDermitt confessed his romantic interest in Morgan. However, Morgan and Scarnecchia, who each had a daughter of their own, eventually resolved their issues and moved into a new residence together in Plain Township 4 months later. Shortly after that, Morgan hosted a birthday party for her daughter, attended by McDermitt and Mark, along with Morgan's mother, Cynthia Rowe. While Cynthia had met Mark before, it was her first time meeting McDermitt. Since many guests were unfamiliar with Morgan's home, she gave them a tour of the house when they arrived. Cynthia noticed that McDermitt introduced himself to arriving guests as Jason. Because Morgan's boyfriend's name is also Jason, Cynthia felt McDermitt was presenting himself as Morgan's boyfriend. He even helped with food and referred to Morgan's grandmother as Grandma. Cynthia found this behavior very unusual and, the next day, discussed her concerns with Morgan, who said that she was deeply disturbed by McDermitt's actions. On October 8, 2020, Morgan briefly left her phone unattended. During her absence, McDermitt and 2 co-workers took her phone without her consent and went through her pictures and other files. When she realized her phone was missing, she asked if anyone had seen it, and Larry informed her that Jason McDermitt had taken it up to the sort tower. Morgan confronted McDermitt and saw him hiding her phone in his pocket. Initially, he denied taking it, but eventually admitted to it and then handed the phone back to Morgan. It's alleged that Morgan had nude photos of herself stored on her phone, and she believed that McDermitt and the other 2 employees had looked at some of the pictures because they were snickering and made rude remarks about her afterwards. Feeling violated and outraged, Morgan told McDermitt that she wanted nothing more to do with him. Devastated and in tears, Morgan called her mother Cynthia and shared the distressing incident with her. She asked her mother for assistance in finding a new job, expressing her strong desire to leave her current workplace. Morgan also confided in Mark, explaining her wish to quit her job at FedEx Ground and search for alternative employment. She blocked McDermitt on social media. All 3 employees involved, including McDermitt, faced disciplinary action. Following this incident, Morgan experienced continuous harassment at work. McDermitt's fixation on Morgan intensified. He persistently bombarded her with text messages and phone calls, despite the fact that Morgan had made it abundantly clear that she had no desire to speak to him any longer. He also requested that Mark, Mary, and Mickey read an apology letter he had written for Morgan. All 3 of them noticed a significant change in McDermitt's behavior after the phone incident, including signs of depression, neglect of his appearance, and openly discussing struggles with sleep and eating. Despite these developments, McDermitt continued his attempts to contact Morgan, but she consistently rejected his efforts. On October 28, 2020, Morgan had an early work shift scheduled to start at 2:30 a.m. As part of her usual routine, Morgan had dropped her daughter off at her mother Cynthia's home the night before. Cynthia woke up at 1:30 a.m., as she usually does, to call Morgan and ensure she was awake and ready for work. However, when Cynthia checked her phone, she found a text message from Morgan saying that she was already awake, that she loved her, and promised to call when her shift ended. Morgan's boyfriend, Jason Scarnecchia, awoke briefly while Morgan was getting ready for work, but he went back to sleep. He woke up a second time at 6 a.m. and went to the kitchen to make breakfast. While making breakfast, he looked through the window and noticed Morgan's car was still outside in the driveway. This struck him as odd, because Morgan was supposed to be at work at 2:30 a.m. Concerned, he went outside to her car and discovered the driver's side door was open. To his shock and horror, Morgan's lifeless body was hunched over in the driver's seat. She had sustained gunshot wounds to her head and neck, and her body was cold, so he immediately called 911.
911, do you need police, fire, or medical help?
Police, medical. I'm pretty sure my girlfriend's dead. I got up for work, came out, looked outside, I seen a car out here. I came out here and she's laying in her front seat, unresponsive, very cold, covered in blood. Oh my God.
You doing okay, sir?
No.
I understand. We're going to get you some help here as quick as possible.
During this time, Cynthia received a call from a friend who lived nearby Morgan's residence. The friend informed Cynthia that the police and EMS had arrived at Morgan's house and had cordoned off the property with tape. Alarmed by this news, Cynthia immediately contacted FedEx Ground to inquire about Morgan's whereabouts, only to learn that Morgan was not at work. Fearing the worst, she rushed to Morgan's home. Upon arriving at the scene, Cynthia tragically discovered that her beloved daughter had been murdered. Overwhelmed with grief and suspicion, she told law enforcement officers that someone from FedEx Ground might be responsible. McDermitt, Mickey, and Mary worked the same morning shift at FedEx Ground. McDermitt checked in at 2:59 a.m. On that day, McDermitt appeared happier, more lively, and even smiled, a rare occurrence for him. He mentioned to Mary that he and Morgan had started talking again and showed her a picture of a Christmas gift he planned to buy for Morgan. Mary, however, doubted the authenticity of their reconnection, feeling that if it were true, McDermitt would have informed her immediately. McDermitt noticed Morgan's absence and expressed his confusion about her not being at work. Despite knowing Morgan should be working, McDermitt didn't seem overly concerned about her absence. After his shift ended at about 10 a.m., he stopped at Sheetz to get his car washed. Despite the rain, he washed the underbody of his blue Ford Focus twice before buying food inside. Later, he visited his parents and gave his mother a belated birthday gift, even though her birthday had been in July. Notably, he visited them just 5 days prior. While he was there, on October 28th, McDermitt received a text with a link to a news story about Morgan's dead body being found in her driveway. He dropped his food and cried hysterically at his parents' house. He briefly left to go to a friend's place, but returned soon after. Mickey woke up to a series of texts and the news link from McDermitt, and when she called, he was in extreme distress, mentioning his recent communication with Morgan. Mickey also found this suspicious and felt he would have told her sooner if it were true. While on the call, McDermitt was interrupted by Stark County Sheriff's deputies at his door, asking for him. He then abruptly ended the call with Mickey. Mickey was with McDermitt at his parents' place on October 31st, planning a candlelight vigil for Morgan. She noticed he was deeply concerned about his car's black box. His mother mentioned that a deputy had said the black box data placed him at the murder scene. McDermitt shared with his friends that he had seen a YouTube video explaining how a vehicle's black box could be hacked and suggested that someone might have taken his spare key, used his car, and then returned it. While shopping for vigil items at Walmart, McDermitt unexpectedly disclosed a supposed sexual encounter with Morgan, giving explicit details, which surprised Mickey, who had never heard of such involvement before. On the day of the vigil, Mickey picked up McDermitt at around 6 p.m. En route to the vigil, he asked Mickey about the traffic cameras along the way, specifically whether they recorded continuously or only when a driver exceeded the speed limit. He later asked Mickey to stop at Dunkin' Donuts, where he bought Morgan's usual coffee and asked for a cup sticker with the message, "Rest easy." Mark called Mickey from the vigil to inform her that Morgan's mother, Cynthia, and her daughter, Amelia, were at the house collecting Amelia's belongings. He said they were upset by the vigil as they had not been informed that people would be gathering at the house for the event. Cynthia and Amelia had gathered some belongings and returned to their car when McDermitt arrived. As Amelia tried to close her car door, McDermitt got between the door and Amelia and positioned himself on the floorboard in front of her. He told her how beautiful she was and that she looked just like her mother. He gave her a stuffed toy and told her to keep it forever because he didn't want her to ever forget him. Cynthia repeatedly asked McDermitt to leave, but he didn't comply until Mark intervened. The following day, Cynthia returned to Morgan's home to retrieve more of Amelia's belongings. While there, she saw McDermitt and another man outside near Morgan's car, appearing to search for something among the fallen leaves. When asked what they were doing there, McDermitt said they had returned because the man accompanying him hadn't had a chance to place a letter on the vigil memory board the previous night. Let's go back to the morning of the murder and examine some of the evidence that investigators found at the crime scene, as well as other evidence that was uncovered in the days that followed. On the morning of the murder, Deputy Christopher Connolly arrived at the scene where EMS personnel were already present. Connolly noticed head injuries on Morgan and a bullet mark on the passenger side door. He spoke with Morgan's boyfriend, Jason Scarnecchia, and took photographs of the scene. A .22 caliber bullet was found inside the passenger door during the investigation. Scarnecchia's hands were swabbed for gunshot residue, but tests showed no traces of residue. Interviews with neighbors yielded no reports of gunshots, and none of them had security cameras. Detective Rocco Ross of the Stark County Sheriff's Office noticed tire tracks near a white vinyl fence by Morgan's home, along with mud splatter on the fence, indicating rapid acceleration. Deputy Eric Brown, a certified crash reconstructionist, examined these marks. Brown determined that the tire tracks and mud splatter matched the dimensions, tires, and front right drive wheel of McDermitt's Ford Focus. This suggested McDermitt's car could have left the observed evidence at the scene. When Detective Ross seized McDermitt's Ford Focus, he noticed it was unusually clean, given the weather conditions. Ross asked McDermitt if he had recently washed the car, and McDermitt admitted to washing it at Sheetz that morning. Surveillance footage from Sheetz confirmed McDermitt washing the car's underside twice. Sergeant Michael Green, a K-9 handler, used Milo, an explosives detection dog, to inspect McDermitt's car. Milo detected explosive residue odor on the driver's seat and the floor space near the driver's seat and door. Milo also checked Morgan's residence, but did not detect explosives inside, around it, or in Scarnecchia's car. McDermitt cooperated with Detective Rocco Ross, allowing his phone to be examined. Due to the numerous text messages, Ross collected the phone as potential evidence. McDermitt told Detective Ross he didn't own any firearms, but mentioned his father did. Ross then talked to McDermitt's parents, who confirmed all firearms were accounted for and presumably in their proper place. However, they disclosed McDermitt had been at their home before Morgan's murder, giving his mother a belated birthday gift, and he was there on the day of the murder. On October 30th, 2020, law enforcement officers executed a warrant to seize McDermitt's father's firearms and McDermitt's car. Detective Ross checked traffic and business cameras along McDermitt's route from his apartment to Morgan's home. The cameras captured a Ford Focus with a visibly bent front license plate during the relevant time frame. When McDermitt's Ford Focus was seized, Detective Ross noted that the front license plate was bent, matching the distinctive feature captured by the cameras. Additionally, business cameras near McDermitt's apartment recorded a Ford Focus with a bent front license plate during the relevant time period. The vehicle left, returned, and departed again, aligning with McDermitt's work routine. These observations became vital evidence in the investigation. The Bureau of Criminal Investigation analyzed McDermitt's phone data and found it contained a collection of Morgan's Snapchat photos, her Instagram photos, and photos he had taken of Morgan himself without her knowledge. On November 4th, 2020, Jason McDermitt was arrested for the murder of Morgan Fox. On December 17th, 2020, the Stark County Grand Jury indicted McDermitt with 1 count of aggravated murder with a firearm and 1 count of menacing by stalking. He pleaded not guilty to these charges and opted for a jury trial, which took place from April 2nd, 2021 to April 8th, 2021. Following a full review of the evidence and deliberation, the jury found Jason Allen McDermitt guilty of aggravated murder and menacing by stalking. At the conclusion of the trial and prior to sentencing, Morgan's daughter, Amelia, was permitted to give a victim impact statement. While she gave her statement, McDermitt appeared to show some emotion for the first time since the trial began.
I love my mom a lot. She was my whole world and life. I will never see her again because of the monster in this room. I thought monsters weren't real, but you proved me wrong. You hurt so many people. You hurt me and the people I love. I just wanted to know why you did it. It will haunt me for the rest of my life, and that life will be without my mommy.
Jason McDermitt was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In the midst of the darkness that shrouded the tragic murder of 29-year-old Morgan Fox, it's essential to remember the light she brought into the lives of all her loved ones. Morgan was more than a name. She was a generous soul, known for her selflessness and unwavering kindness. Her love for animals, her deep-rooted connection with her family and friends, and the unbreakable bond she shared with her beloved daughter Amelia defined her existence. Morgan's legacy will forever be imprinted on the hearts and minds of all who were fortunate enough to know her. We would like to extend our heartfelt condolences to Morgan's family and friends, and especially her boyfriend Jason Scarnecchia, her mother Cynthia, and her daughter Amelia. Our thoughts and prayers go out to all of you. May Morgan rest in peace.